Errol Spence Jr. dropping the WBC and Keith Thurman for Eimantas Stanionis. Alright, y'all, it's your boy Cardinal Red Sports. Let's talk about it. So, rumors are coming out that Errol Spence Jr. may be fighting Eimantas Stanionis next, and not Keith Thurman. This would mean that Errol Spence Jr. is prepared to drop the WBC title for the Eimantas Stanionis fight. And that will start a chain of all types of events. Because if he drops that WBC title, either Keith Thurman will be elevated or there will be a title eliminator for the WBC title, most likely involving Boots, Keith Thurman, Virgil Ortiz. Now, this isn't official yet, but Stanionis did take to Twitter last night and say that he was expecting an historical fight coming soon. Not only that, Mike Coppinger has been reporting since October that Stanionis and Errol Spence Jr. are in talks for a fight to happen very soon. Now, if you think back a few weeks ago, when the news first broke about Errol Spence and Terence Crawford not fighting and Crawford fighting David Avanesyan, you have to remember that the first name that was brought up as Spence's next opponent was Eimantas Stanionis. It wasn't Keith Thurman. It wasn't a Boots fight. It wasn't a 154 fight. It was Stanionis that everybody's saying was going to be first in line and that PBC had already been negotiating with. So I think there's a high probability that this might happen. I'm not sure if Errol Spence Jr. wants to drop the title, but it's definitely looking like that's a possibility. And you haven't heard Spence really say much of anything since the Keith Thurman news broke. So I'm really anxious to find out whether he's actually going to go through with the Stanionis fight or will he go with the mandatory fight in Keith Thurman. The Stanionis fight is a good fight. Actually a better fight than Crawford versus Avanesyan. Stanionis, an unknown fighter, but ranked much higher than David Avanesyan is. Stanionis is an unknown. I think a lot of people feel like Stanionis has the skill sets to challenge Errol Spence. Maybe not beat him, but definitely challenge Errol Spence and give him a very tough fight, something very entertaining and perhaps history-making. You know, Stanionis might catch Errol Spence on the wrong night and do damage to him. We don't know. Is that a high-dollar fight? Is that a good fight for PBC to be trying to make? I think when you compare it to the Keith Thurman fight, it's about equal. You know, I don't think Keith Thurman is back to the level he was before he fought Manny Pacquiao. And I don't think Eimantas Stanionis is too far off the level of where Keith Thurman is at right now. So a Spence-Stanionis fight is not a long shot. Can Stanionis beat him? It's definitely going to be a challenge for him, especially off of what I saw in the Ugas fight. You know, Errol Spence did bring a new gear to that fight, so it would definitely be a tough fight for Stanionis. Just to get the fight would elevate his name so far into boxing fame that it stands to benefit him a lot more than it does Errol Spence. And that's the problem for most of these fights, besides a Manny Pacquiao fight for Errol Spence or a Terence Crawford fight for Errol Spence. None of these fights really come with any upside for Errol Spence. They're just good fights to make. He's not going to make a ton of money off a Stanionis fight. He wouldn't make a ton of money off a Keith Thurman fight. He definitely wouldn't make a ton of money off a Boots or a Virgil fight. Those are just really good fights that fans want to see. Now, the high-dollar fights are your Pacquiao fights, your Terence Crawford fights, and since Errol Spence can't get that, he's got to go with the next best thing to keep himself in shape and to try to push forward to get to that Terence Crawford fight if that's his end goal. Now, if he does choose Stanionis, I'm not sure if Crawford will be his next fight. Would he circle the block, go back and try to fight in the title eliminator for dropping the WBC title? Perhaps him and Keith Thurman get it on next year, or him and Boots get it on sometime next year, or him and Virgil get it on sometime next year for the WBC title? Or will he immediately go after Terence Crawford if he took a Stanionis fight, trying to unify those three titles, being that he would have dropped the WBC title? he would try to unify the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO with Terence Crawford. Is that a possibility? I think everything right now is on the table for Errol Spence. Everything, including dropping all the titles and moving to 154 pounds, is on the table for Errol Spence, and we just have to wait to see exactly which way he's going to go with this. I definitely think a lot of people would rather see Spence versus Boots or Spence versus Virgil rather than Spence versus Thurman or Spence versus Sanionis or perhaps even Spence versus Pacquiao. I keep telling people that Spence versus Pacquiao is a huge fight. It's a big money fight. There's a lot of money that would be placed on the table to make that fight. The question is, will Manny Pacquiao feel good enough to try to take on a champion like Errol Spence Jr. after his upcoming exhibition fight with DKO? And if Errol Spence does drop the title, what's his plan for the future at 147? Does he plan to still try to unify all those titles? Is his plan to just get the Crawford fight? Is it just about fighting Crawford and beating Crawford? Or is he going to move up to 154 pounds and say, screw this division, there's too much politics going on, I'll defend my titles one more time and I'm out of here? It's a lot to be said right now when it comes to Errol Spence Jr.'s future at 147, and I think we'll just have to wait around to see what his ultimate decision is going to be. But the one thing he doesn't have a lack of is choices. It's your boy Cardinal Red Sports. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. You're more than likely to get a response on the tube. Holler at me over there, and we are
Let's say the truth, Errol Spence. You the truth. You got 3 belts, and you've never seen Keith Thurman. That's the truth. Look, man, I have the full capacity to become, a world champion again. With the right preparation in the training camp. Not a gatekeeper.
It's your boy Keys, neighborhood employee. Niggas knew that I was coming with fire. Y'all went up to my pie and up under a car. Your head under a tie, it's the S and the I. Player, we supposed to win. I'm in the booth focusing with coke in hand. Dude hate it when they see the chief running in. Ass mouth hurting like his wisdom teeth coming in. Now that's a roundhouse kick. Come round your house, letting rounds out quick. From Newburgh to downtown, it's that Midwest to down south shit. Y'all ain't fucking with. She chillin', tryna put the veal on the mouth. What's good? She nothing, saying tryna show these niggas how to ride. And I'm on the go, blowing them trees when I'm on the road. DJ spin it and they on the flow, but it seems these motherfuckers still don't know. I'ma call this freestyle my cash flow. Tighter than a belt on the last hoe. Kidel Castro. Whenever the females ask for the lasso, send them to the nigga that sag low. I brag so motherfuckers know about mine. Breathe smoke when I'm spitting like it's cold outside. Niggas stressed out cause his baby mama is with me with another chick. They acting like Madonna.